Hello. In response to a question I was asked online, I've put together a shortish, hopefully shortish, video on how to recognise the difference between Roman tile and medieval tile. Obviously this is a huge subject, so we'll only really have time to scratch the surface today. Especially in the Roman period, tiles were very widely used in all sorts of ways in buildings. So what we'll do is we'll look at some tiles which are obviously and definitely Roman, and then some tiles which are definitely medieval, and then we'll go and see if we can find any hints which will tell us what the main differences are. So starting in the Roman period, a very common style of tile which you get are hypocaust tiles. I'll show you a couple of examples of these. Basically red clay tiles, same as the medieval ones, but they normally have a roller stamped or a combed decoration on them. There's another one with chevrons on. I'll show you a few different ones so you start to get a feel for the style of these hypocaust tiles. There's one which actually has a hole in the middle for a water pipe to go through from a bathhouse, but still it has that combed decoration. It's not really decoration, it is very decorative actually, but it's not really decoration because obviously in the finished building you wouldn't be seeing these, they'd be hidden in the walls and in the floors. They're called hypocaust tiles because they were box tiles, flue tiles, so it's a box, hollow one, that's the corner of a box, obviously have four sides, and it does have the combed decoration there on the side. They're hollow tiles. They were used to transfer heat from the furnaces under the floors up into the walls and in the floors there to warm your Roman bathhouse or your comfortable suburban Roman villa. And the keying on them was actually the combed and roller stamped decoration was to key in cement, and you do often find on examples traces of the original cement and mortar there as well. I'll show you a few examples so you can see the style of these Roman hypocaust tiles. They are quite common finds on the Thames foreshore and always come from Roman bathhouses or Roman villas, so slightly better quality buildings. There we are, that's another example. And that sort of overlapping chevron style of combed decoration. Yeah, even in quite small pieces, quite recognisable. There's a bit with rather more of the cement remaining on it there, none too thick, and sometimes you can see a corner there where another wall would spring off because they are, as I said, flue tiles, hollow box tiles there. There's another one there. So they're quite recognisable as Roman. The Romans also used tiles for roofing, but unlike the medieval period where you get peg tiles, tiles with pegs on them, mainly the Romans used a system of tegulae and imbrices, tegula single and imbrex as a singular item, to roof their buildings, sort of better quality buildings. And the tegula is sort of a wide U-shaped tile. There's one side, there'll be another side with another projection there, and you'd have tegulae on your roof, and then you'd give a curved tile known as an imbrex, which would cover over between two tegulae and produce your waterproof roof there. And these are fairly massive. I mean, these are only small parts of tegulae there. A complete roof made of these things would be hugely heavy, and these are large objects. They did often, well, the design often slants, so at the end of the tile the projection would be just the thickness of the tile, and then it would go off and increase. You can see it springing off there, increase in thickness throughout the tile, and often that part is smoothed unlike the rest of the tile. That's another hint that you're talking about Roman roof tiles there. Not all of them slanted, I mean that's fairly uniform there. This one possibly slanting a little bit, but you can see that. And then the imbrex is a curved large tile that fitted on the top there. Other Roman tiles were more structural, and you had very thick tiles to form the bases of the floors. You'd have bases, pili, little columns made of tiles to hold up your floor, your mosaic floors, so they'd be hollow underneath and the air could circulate, the hot air could circulate and warm you up in the inclement British climate. Here's another Roman tile which I found in Sussex in a drainage ditch, tegula mammati, because it's got this mammary there for keying in the mortar at the next level. But you can see these are big objects, large tiles, much bigger than later bricks and tiles, very thick, several inches thick. Okay, those ones obviously Roman. Now turning to the medieval period, obviously a very well known and easily identified item of medieval tile are decorated floor tiles. They were used right through the medieval period. Most commonly found on the Thames foreshore are the 14th century ones from the pen industries in Buckinghamshire. Wide range of designs, geometric, animal, allegorical, and they're very beautiful. When the clay was wet, the tile was stamped with a wooden stamp with a design on it, and then that space was filled in with a different colour clay and then glazed and fired, so you get that sort of two-colour effect. And these are obviously definitely medieval. You can see they have an obvious angle there on all sides where they would butt up against the next tile, and that would take the mortar on your floor. So these are floor tiles. As I said, medieval roofs often were tiled as well, and post-medieval as well. I mean, they're difficult to date, so I mean right up to recently, these peg tiles, you know, tiles with peg holes in. If you look in the hole, you can often see the grain of the wood of the stick that pushed the hole into the clay. And these also say medieval or post-medieval as well in date. So what if you're not lucky enough to find objects which are obviously Roman or obviously medieval, obviously Roman? What if you're not lucky enough to find something that's decorated? Are there any tips or hints which could help you to date an object that you find? Here are a few. They're not universal. I have found medieval tiles which have Roman characteristics and vice versa, because there's a great range of ceramic tiles, obviously. As I said, generally in the Roman period the clay is very swirly. I hope you can see that. It doesn't look very well mixed at all. You've got great swirls of clay visible in the fabric, and they're also on the edge of that. Hopefully you can start to see that, and that's very different from a medieval or a post-medieval tile there. So you've got swirly clay, which is quite indicative of Roman period tiles. Also the colour, I mean a lot of Roman tile is very orange, quite orangey. I mean you can find medieval tiles this colour, but a lot of the Roman ones are orangey, and a lot of the medieval and post-medieval are very brick red, a redder colour, and that can be an indication as well. Often also in the medieval period the firing wasn't done very well, not at a high temperature, and you get a thick grey core. which you don't get so often in the Roman period. So that might be another clue perhaps that you're talking about something medieval if you have a thick grey core to your red clay tile. The Roman fabric, the Roman clay, Roman tiles are often quite soft. I mean, this one I found in Sussex is actually so soft that if you rub it onto a piece of paper, then the clay actually comes off onto the paper there, which would never happen with a medieval or later tile object. So that also might be a hint. And on several of these large tiles, I've noticed there's a little swipe there in the clay, a concave mark. I hope you can see that there. There's another example there. You can just see it. It looks like when the potter's finished, he just puts a little swipe on it to say finish that. And that seems to be indicative of Roman tiles as well. That's another hint that you might be looking at something Roman rather than medieval. Yeah, so as well as the harder fabric in the medieval period, as I said, Roman tiles tend to be quite massive and thick, hugely heavy, as opposed to medieval peg tiles for roofs and also medieval floor tiles. You can see the difference in thickness there. If you've got something that thick, much bigger than a modern brick, huge, then you're talking about something normally Roman as opposed to later medieval. And of course another indication, if there's even a spot of glaze on the tile, you can see there's some glazing spot on the bottom and on the side, then you know it's medieval and not Roman, because Roman tiles were never glazed, even a spot. So if you've got a spot of glaze on it, then you know you've got something medieval and not Roman. So I hope that's helpful to you guys out there, and happy hunting. Thank you. Bye.